Greetings and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing another garden tour showcasing the many fruit trees and interesting fruits and vegetables that I'm growing in my backyard here in the summer of 2024. If you've been watching my channel for some time, you've probably seen the video that I published about 3 months ago in May of my peach tree harvest. I have a whole bunch of fruit trees here in what I refer to as my backyard orchard, and I have a raised bed where I grow an assortment of fruits and vegetables. There's not a ton load of fruits and vegetables growing this summer, but it has been an interesting season, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to share what I'm growing and how I've been doing this summer. I'm filming this video on August the 11th, 2024, and it is so nice out today. We're having such temperate weather this summer. Typically at this point in the season, my grass would be totally dormant, or at least just really crispy, really dry, and we've gotten so much rain this season. My plants are really loving it. If you're new to the channel, this is my backyard gardening space. I work with about 4,000 square feet that are fenced in here, where I have an assortment of fruit trees, the raised bed, plants in containers, and all of my daughter's toys. And this is now the third or fourth summer that these plants have been in ground. I moved to this area in the fall of 2021 and have had the opportunity to document my hobby of growing these fruit trees and everything else over the past couple of years. And they've really grown a lot. If I do a side-by-side of this peach tree right here with where it was even just a couple of years ago, you can see that it's gotten significantly taller. There's a lot of new growth, and some of that is thanks to the temperateness of this season, but some of that is also just because it's been so long, just been a number of years. These plants, of course, when they're in a space that is well watered, well draining, and they're being fertilized and maintained, they're gonna grow. And so it's been a very mild summer, as I mentioned. I've lived in Austin for 30 years now, I guess 31 technically, my whole life. And I've never seen a summer this temperate. It is, even right now, maybe like 80, 85 degrees, almost 11 o'clock. And typically at this point in the summer, in August, it would be like 100 degrees every single day. You know, my whole yard would be basically looking like this spot right here, which I had some bluebonnets growing here a couple of months ago, and they stunted the grass that's growing here. But the rest of my lawn, minus the other bluebonnet patches, is honestly looking pretty good. And for example, that fence in the background there is 6 feet tall. And so this is one of my peach trees. It's doing really well. It's a Royal Zest tree. I featured it in a whole bunch of different videos. I'm trying to line up the shot right so I can do a comparison with how much this tree has grown in the last couple of years. I've had this tree caked in ice and, out in storms, getting pushed around, and it has grown to be at least 7.5 feet tall. It's yielded probably 100 peaches over the past couple of springs, and I'm really excited to see where this goes next. I have this stake on it because over time I've noticed this tree leaning to the right, as I've documented in some of my peach tree harvest videos, and I'm trying to get it to stay upright. You can see that it really is working, putting a tie on it like this. It leans over a little bit, but you can see the slack in the rope there, that it's not by much. And I like to move the rope around because I don't want to wear my bark down here where the rope is making contact on the tree and let any type of vine borers get to this tree. It really is big. I don't know if the camera is doing it justice, but there's a ton of new growth on this tree. This tree is going to put off a ton of peaches next year. You can see anywhere where the bark is totally green or green and a little red, like here it's green up top and then transitions down to red kind of in here. I'm expecting that's where all of our fruit is going to be growing in this coming year, and it's all over the tree. And so the next problem this tree might face is honestly wood breaking because of the amount of fruit that's on it next year. I'm probably going to have to cull some, but this peach tree right here and these two on the other side of the yard are doing excellently. I have a couple in this corner that aren't doing so great. Of course, this fig tree, which hasn't grown much. I don't want to say it's not doing great. It hasn't done much since I planted it a year ago, but it looks healthy, and I think it's just kind of still in the process because it's only the first year for this fig tree, but these peach trees have been here for a couple of years. I think this fig tree is just still putting its roots down. Over in this corner, these are the peach trees I was referring to that aren't doing well. And I have a couple of different theories for that. The first of which is when I had appendicitis about 2 years ago now, we hired somebody to help us with some yard work, and a weed whacker got taken to the base of these two trees. And the damage has been very difficult to reverse. I've seen some different videos where people will tape these off. They'll put different products on them to stop vine borers from getting into the base of the tree, but right there at the graft. And then over here, not at the graft, but like all over, I've been seeing just bark splitting, which is sometimes due to heat and dryness, but in this case, I think it's due to parasites, vine borers. So the parasites is part of the problem, but also these trees, I think, have just gotten stunted generally. You know what? I want to completely blame parasites. I was going to blame the shade, because my house here in the south, the sun runs along that corridor, and a lot of the shade hits these two trees, whereas the ones off in the corner and by the fence over here get almost full sun. These two trees, one is Royal Zest and the other is Rio Grande, so I don't think it's a species or like a variety issue, because that's Royal Zest too, and that 7.5 foot one are also Royal Zest too. This one wasn't always so small. If you've seen some older videos, you probably noticed that I've had to chop it right here, which has been disappointing. But I think these trees are a great lesson, because they remind me that I planted, at one point, I had like 18 trees in this backyard. I think I had like 5 or 6 fig trees and a whole bunch of peach trees. And now we're down to what I'm going to say is 4 pretty solid trees, and these 2 questionable ones that might need to get removed. So, despite the fact that we've had such a moderate summer, it still is really hot and dry out here. I mean, it's still Texas. And so we're just now getting to the point where I'm seeing those clay fissures opening up again. And I haven't seen this all summer. This usually starts in like June. But now that the rain is lightening up, we're starting to see some of this opening up. And these spots right here, like this is dead because my daughter's slide was covering this area for about 3 weeks. It doesn't take long to really hurt the grass, but like where we have a lot of traffic, it's going to be like by the sandbox. We've got the grass worn down, and especially by the swing. Check that out. I've been seeing this and thinking to myself, like, I have got to water over here. And even where I'm walking, I can feel the ground is a lot sharper, a lot drier. It's a weird way to say it. There's a lot of weeds in here mixed in with the Bermuda grass, and it's hard to walk on when it's so dry. So one of the things that I'm working on is a video explaining how I water spaces like this, because we've been having so much rain this summer, but recently I don't think it's rained in about 2 weeks, and so it's time to water. And I use a Orbit sprinkler. It's that little tiny tractor right there. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll make a more detailed video on it shortly. But yeah, my fruit trees are doing great. It's nice to see the growth. I'm thinking I'm going to make a dedicated video just explaining the specifics of how much the trees have grown over the last 3 years, detailing their progress. So beyond them, I have some interesting plants in containers. These pineapples are pineapples that I brought back from Hawaii with me 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. In the spring of 2021, my wife and I took an anniversary trip to Maui, and we went to a pineapple fruit farm where we looked at all sorts of different interesting pineapples and talked about the way that pineapples reproduce. And I bought a few pineapples and decided to take them home with me to put in containers and regrow Hawaiian pineapples at home here in Austin, Texas. And now that it's been 3.5 years, I still do not have pineapples. We have a newborn daughter, and my older daughter is 2 years old, so these are older than my daughters, these pineapples, and I still do not have fruit. I've purchased some calcium carbide to try to speed up the fruiting process, but unfortunately, it looks like these pineapples are going to be taking another trip into the garage this summer. I like to put them in my garage under a grow lamp. When I say I like to do that, what I mean by that is it is necessary in order to keep these alive in our Texas winter climate. As many of you know, if you live down here, Maybe I'll say if you don't live down here, we get ice, snow, and the occasional blizzard, even though it's uncommon. And so tropical plants like this would never survive. This is definitely an example of zone pushing. I could call it successful zone pushing if they actually bear fruit one day. But until then, my raised bed is where most of the fruit and vegetables are grown. And right now there is not a lot going on in this raised bed for two reasons. One, it's peak summer. Summer is just not a great time for fruits and vegetables, though this summer would have been if I did not have a newborn baby and was not totally busy. Maybe I would have planted some more stuff out here, but everything that's growing is stuff from the years gone by. In this corner, we have a whole bunch of onions. There's some red onions and some green onions that I've been regrowing. They have gone to seed, and it's really interesting when these go to seed, they produce new onion bulbs. So sometimes I would take the little black seeds out of the onion pods here and plant them, but I've noticed if you don't do anything, they'll just grow bulbs and fall into the dirt and start growing a new plant. I also have done tomatoes in the past, but I didn't plant any this year, and it looks like at some point a seed fell and produced this tomato plant, which has flowers which are blooming and being germinated, which just goes to show the daytime temperature is not breaking 90 degrees. We actually do have some fruit on here, some cherry tomato fruit. Again, did not plant these this year. They just came up from seeds that have fallen. And I'm now having my blackberries. That's what all this is here, all this greenery. These are blackberries spread out throughout most of the bed, which I'm totally fine with. I built this bed in the fall of 2021. And you can see how much the dirt line has receded. I think originally there might have been like 5 to 6 inches, maybe that much space that wasn't covered with dirt when I first set up this bed, and a lot of the dirt has become compacted from erosion, and the yellow pine is really starting to rot over in that corner, like for real. Not in this corner, it's all over. Anywhere where the soil has been touching, the yellow pine is untreated and decomposing, which is fine. It was my original intention for this bed. I wanted to consume the things that were growing from it, and I didn't want to run the risk of, consuming poison. So this bed is not going to last forever. Neither is my home ownership here, or if I'm being completely honest, my life. So we don't have to create a raised bed which is going to last for 300 years, because I won't. But if I can get 3 more years out of this, I think that'd be really neat. I also like to grow these purslane. They're just flowers. I think these started growing, and normally I pick these and throw them away because they are toxic to dogs, and we've got a little dog, but we've just been supervising really closely because my daughter loves to pick these flowers. With that, there's not that much more going on. I've got some carrots in this corner that have been sitting around all year. They didn't really do great this year. In a spring past, I once harvested probably, 50 or 60 carrots, but right now I think we've got 2 that are looking justifiable. This one right here is pretty solid. But between the cold winter that we had this year and my lack of care for this garden, we don't have too many carrots this year. So, not that much going on in this raised bed, but I do intend on planting some stuff a little bit later in the season. At this point, we're really on our way out with it being late summer. But what I'm excited most for is to see how my fruit trees continue to develop over the coming months, and I guess I'll say year. Because even next year, like this one right here, I think is going to be pretty crazy. But with that being said, that's what's going on in my backyard. I also wanted to walk out in my front yard and take a look at the crepe myrtles that I've been growing, and some of the sweet potato vines that I've been growing along the edge of my house. Let's take a look. This is my front yard. I've got the corner lot. I haven't walked out here in the front yard for one of these garden tours in a while, but I have these 3 crepe myrtles, which I planted probably about, when did I plant these? I don't recall. It might have been, got a lot of noise in the background, so bear with me. I might have planted these about 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember if it was spring 22 is what my gut's telling me. So we'll just say 2.5 years these crepe myrtles have been in my front yard, and they're doing really great. I've been trying to train these up to be proper trees, and you can see that they're in full bloom. Now that it's August, they usually bloom in late June or July. And I like to, when I say I train these into being trees, I have to take a step back here to show you what I'm talking about. Down low, these will grow from the root. Like new shoots and leaves will come out of the roots, and so I will prune off any new growth so that these become proper trunks in here. And obviously they're still in the bush stage. I mean, this one right in front of me has got to be 7 feet tall. Again, the camera might not be doing it justice, but I'm 5'7" and I'm looking up at it, so I'll call it 6.5 feet. These other two are about 5'6", 5'7", but they really are pretty, and I think they complement my front yard well. And I put sweet potato vines in the back to frame up the house. I've been meaning to make a qualitative video on the way I grow these sweet potato vines season to season, because I haven't actually bought sweet potato vines in probably 3 years, but every year they always come back. And so I'm gonna make a more detailed video on that probably in a couple of weeks. It's been a while since I've published some videos, but I think I'll have 3 or 4 coming out between now and September. And when I take some steps back here, it really looks nice, but I think at night is when I have my solar lights on, when I think these are framed up the best. They look really good. So I just checked the weather, and it is 88 degrees right now. And as you can see from my face, I'm very sweaty. When I say that it's temperate this summer, I just mean that it's not as hot as it usually is. It would typically be about 100 degrees at this point now that it's almost noon. But my trees are doing great, my lawn is doing great, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to showcase some of the things that I'm working on now. Stay tuned. As I mentioned, I'll be making a video explaining how I water, how I take care of these crepe myrtles, some of the progress on my peach trees, and some other interesting things as we get into the fall gardening season. So once again, thank you for watching Austin, Texas Gardening.